I love disaster movies. 2012, Armageddon, Dante's Peak, The Day After Tomorrow, Geostorm, and who could forget the seminal classic, Moonfall.
Hurricanes are blowing. Whoa, slow down.
They're just dumb, turn your brain off and watch nature murk some poor bastards fun. But one has managed to escape my gaze up until now, and that's Twister. You see, I'm a recent convert to the disaster movie genre. For the longest time, I thought I was too good for this slop. That wasn't until a few months ago when something dawned on me. I like comic book movies. What's the difference between that mass market slop and this mass market slop? And the answer is, nothing. Nothing at all. So I'm going to look at this film, see if it's any good, and give it a good-natured ribbon while I'm at it. Sound good? Alright, let's get started. Our story begins in 19 Funny Sex Number, where a man is mentally debating whether or not he loves his family enough to bother saving them from an impending tornado. He decides he does and ushers them into a storm cellar. He locks the door, but the pissed off wind cares not for his meager home security, so he makes the asinine decision to hold it closed. He is punished for his stupidity. Cut to present day, and by that I mean 1996, where some scientists are doing some dumb nerd shit, and there's a line justifying the outlandish amount of tornadoes in this movie.
You know, if these cells keep building like this, there could be a record outbreak of tornadoes.
We meet our hero Bill Harding, who's driving with his fiancée Melissa Reeves. They're going to see Bill's ex-wife Jo Harding for some divorce papers. Fun fact, Bill Paxton was chosen for this role because he already responded to Bill. Meanwhile, Jo is fixing some science doohickey and her friends are being charmingly eccentric. Bill pulls up to them, pawns his wife off on Dusty the Dirty Hippie, and talks with Jo about those divorce papers. She fucked up the last page, he insists she fix it immediately, and she says no and talks with his fiancée instead. Gee, I wonder if Bill and Jo will get back together by the end of the movie. This writing is so subtle I can't tell. Jo reveals that the reason she dragged Bill out to the ass end of nowhere is that the super special tornado science machine he designed is complete and she wants him to see it in action. And also to put the moves on him, but mostly the first thing. Jo gets word of a tornado forming and she and the gang jump into action. Bill realizes that Jo never unfucked the papers and drives after them. We then meet the antagonist for the movie, besides the tornadoes. Jonas Miller and his crew of nerds are also tornado chasers, but they are corporate sponsored and therefore evil. What bastards, am I right? How dare they take money from big companies to pay their bills? I'm definitely not just saying this because I'm jealous. Why would you accuse me of that? Jonas and company show off their corporate sponsored villainy by running Bill off the road, causing him to get a flat tire. Bill and the gang stop to fix his tire, where he overhears Jonas showing off his latest invention, a super special tornado science machine that is a blatant ripoff of Bill's super special tornado science machine. This drives Bill into a murderous rage, Jonas is a condescending dickhead toward him, and Bill is held back from murdering a man. Melissa consoles Bill, he stares at the greenest sky in all of cinema, and Jo and Melissa discuss Bill's mutant superpower.
So you're telling me that Billy knows what a storm is thinking?
Something like that.
Still better than Dazzler. Melissa susses out that Jo is still in love with Bill, the gang chases after the tornado, Jonas' crew chases after them, and everyone blares their disparate music. Jo asks Bill about Melissa. Bill says he doesn't want to fight, then promptly bites Jo's head off, drives into a ditch, and almost smashes into a tractor. The gang spots a tornado and chases after it, and Jonas follows suit. Jo and Bill bitch at each other some more, Jo accuses Bill of being a little bitch, and Bill counters by redlining the engine into a field and right into the path of a tornado. Bill is unable to drive out of the ditch and crashes into a bridge. The two of them take shelter under it, but Jo decides that she's Batman but with tornadoes and goes to get a look at it. Bill prevents her from committing suicide and uses his incredible arm strength to hold her down. The tornado flings Jo's truck into Melissa's path. She freaks the fuck out, and everyone reminds her that she just missed the truck. Yeah, remind her of the traumatic thing that just happened, that'll calm her down. Jonas' crew shows up, does nothing to help, and fucks off. Jo asks if Bill has full coverage on his truck, he replies no, and the movie does my favorite joke.
No way.
That joke is funny, every single time. The gang chases after another tornado, and Jonas and his crew use their evil corporate science to track it. Bill uses his tornado vision to determine that it's going to shift its path, and the gang changes course. The tornado they were chasing divides in two. A 2-ton terrestrial mammal is flown in front of the truck, the tornadoes consider eating the truck but decide they're not hungry, and Melissa is traumatized again. The gang demands to see Jo's Aunt Meg, and the movie does the joke again.
Hey! We're absolutely not going.
It's funny. Every single time. Ferris Bueller's friend asks where Meg got all this beef, and she goes, well, you know how I used to have cows? Well, now I have beef. No joke, I had basically the same conversation with my grandma when I was 6. The gang jeers Jonas on the TV and exchange stories around the dinner table. The gang starts explaining the Fujita scale to Melissa. She asks if there's a such thing as an F5, and they get a look on their faces like she just mentioned Voldemort. Joe and Meg talk about how they want Bill to die miserable and alone, and Dusty the Dirty Hippie finds out that an F3 just got spotted near Who Gives a Shitsville, and Melissa is pawned off on the Dirty Hippie again. The movie has a driving sequence set to a Sammy Hagar era Van Halen song that I can't let you hear. The gang shows off their one personality trait apiece, and almost crashes into Jonas's convoy. Bill's tornado sense tingles, and he decides to hang a right. Jonas shows how evil and corporate he is by not following him. This is the last we see of him till the climax. Bill and the gang have a riveting conversation that goes a little something like this. Can you see it? No. Can you see it? No. Can you see it? No. Well, it's gotta be there. Oh, now I see it. Bill then prepares to launch the Super Special Tornado Science Machine. The movie then makes the mistake of reminding me of a better movie.
That's no moon! It's a space station!
Dusty the Dirty Hippie still doesn't understand that Melissa is traumatized by this tornado shit, and Bill tries to launch the Super Special Tornado Science Machine, but it's too early in the movie for it to work, so a power line knocks its guts onto the road. Joe tries to recover the sensors, and tells the little Batman but with tornadoes origin story. Bill then gives the sound advice of, "Don't kill yourself, you stupid fucking idiot." Melissa overhears this over the radio and realizes that Bill still loves Joe. Shocker. Cut to a drive-in theater where the movie once again reminds me of a better movie. Joe decides now is the time to unfuck the divorce papers, and she and Bill determine that the sensors in the Super Special Tornado Science Machine are too light. Meanwhile, Melissa understands that her relevance to this plot is reaching an end. At that moment, a tornado knocks out the TV reception, and it somehow sneaks up on everyone and starts wrecking shop. Everyone runs for cover, and the tornado annihilates that cover. Bill and Joe exchange some longing glances, and a bunch of bullshit tries to crush our protagonists. Meanwhile, Aunt Meg's wind features start going haywire, indicating that angry wind will soon bear down on this poor woman. The police show up to arrest the tornado, and Dusty the Dirty Hippie figures out that the tornado is head for Aunt Meg. Thanks, I couldn't figure that one out myself. The gang prepares to go save Meg, and Melissa decides to divorce Bill before they're even married. Perfect, now Bill can get back with his ex-wife. It's so convenient, it's almost like it was predestined or something. We cut to Akita after having been butt-fucked by a tornado. Joe goes to rescue Meg from her crumbling house, having not learned anything from that "don't kill yourself" speech, and Bill goes in after her. The house begins to crumble, as decaying shitholes are wont to do, and they find Meg pinned under some bullshit. They rescue Meg, and then the house collapses like a set being pulled apart on a soundstage. The gang listens in on a news report about the Godzilla of tornadoes, and Aunt Meg says the most Midwestern thing ever.
He says I have a bump on the head and maybe a broken wrist. Nothing to see. It doesn't even hurt.
Yeah, I've got a concussion, a broken wrist, I've lost 18 gallons of blood, and I can't feel my legs no more, but I'll just walk it off. Dusty the Dirty Hippie informs Joe of the impending F5, and the gang prepares to rush off after it. Joe is transfixed on one of Meg's wind features, and that gives her an idea on how to make the sensors from the Super Special Tornado Science Machine fly. The gang then cuts up a bunch of Pepsi product placement and attach them to the sensors, and then drive to the climax. Joe and Bill try to deploy Super Special Tornado Science Machine number 3, but it's still too light, and the tornado punishes the duo's lack of forethought by jamming a tree under their truck. The director decides this movie needs more explosions, so the tornado flings a fuel truck over our protagonists' heads, and it pops in a fiery haze. The movie remembers that Jonas is a character that exists, and Joe tries to warn him that the Super Special Tornado Science Machine is too light to work, but he is too evil and corporate to take the advice, and is punished for his arrogance by having his driver killed and getting eaten by a tornado. The tornado flings some tractors in the way, Bill does some evasive maneuvering, and then plows through a house. Joe arms Super Special Tornado Science Machine number 4 and prepares to sacrifice Bill's truck. Bill fucks up some poor farmer's cornfield, sets the truck to cruise control, and lets the tornado eat it. This gives the science nerds all the info about tornadoes they could ever want. Celebrations ensue. The tornado then doubles back toward Joe and Bill, and celebrations cease ensuing. The two of them manage to outrun the raging death wind and hide in a barn. Unfortunately, this barn is where all the slasher villains keep their instruments of murder during the off-season. They escape out the back and watch as the tornado eats it. They find another, more different barn and use some bondage gear to anchor themselves to a pipe. They get blown around the wind, witness the eye of the storm, and the tornado sword just fucks off. The two of them gape in amazement that the house was unmolested by the tornado, a symbol that Joe has conquered her childhood trauma, or maybe that her and Bill's marriage can weather any storm. Who gives a shit, really? The gang shows up, Joe and Bill kiss, credits roll. You know, I ripped this movie a new one, but I actually like it a lot. Yes, I know the characters are one note. Yes, I know the plot is predictable. Yes, I know it has an over-reliance on special effects. But you know what? What's wrong with any of that? Not every movie has to be Citizen Kane levels of nuanced. Not every movie has to have a billion twists and turns. And you know what? I like watching nature wreck shop, and I like gratuitous explosions. Sometimes a hot dog at the ballpark is better than a steak at the Ritz. With all that said, I give this movie a 7 out of 10. It's a fun ride. God, I hope the sequel is good. Probably won't be though. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. My name is Mr. Monotone96, and I'll see y'all later.